Welcome to the High Regency, a.k.a. the Winfrey here in Hoover, Alabama. It's SEC Football Media Days 2017. I'm Vince Ferrara alongside Jimmy Hyams, co-host of Sports Talk. We've got live coverage, as you guys are probably well aware of, all week long here in Hoover. And we're 2 days in, Jimmy. Tennessee obviously went yesterday. Let's start out there and recap what happened yesterday with Tennessee. Butch Jones, 3 Tennessee players. What were some of the things that stood out about Tennessee in day one?
Well, we had a chance to visit with Kendall Vickers, and I thought it was interesting that he said that last season, in spite of going 9-4 and winning a bowl game, was disappointing. They didn't achieve the goal they wanted to. Butch Jones still stood behind saying that they did not achieve what they wanted to, but he would not say it was a disappointing season. Emmanuel Mosley talked about Nigel Warrior. He thinks he's going to be a great player. He's been very impressed with him. And I think Warrior, by the way, has a chance to be an excellent player as well. But those were a couple of things that stood out to me about the Tennessee group that was here. And I thought they represented pretty well.
Anything else about day one? We had LSU, we had Arkansas. Brett Bielema, a great quote, went at the same time as Greg Sankey. Anything else caught your attention yesterday?
Well, visiting with Ed Orgeron, LSU's coach, he talked about how great Darius Geis is, and I said, when did you realize that? And he said, in practice. He said he was every bit as good as Leonard Fournette in practice. We knew he'd be terrific. Those two guys pushed each other, and he thinks he's got one of the best running backs in the country. But I was surprised. Geis is not very big either. Mm-hmm. He's listed at about 5'9". He's pretty stocky, maybe about 210. But he is an excellent running back. And Orgeron, he said that he's changed since he was at Ole Miss. At Ole Miss, he tried to do everything. Now he's going to allow his coordinators to coach. But I think that if you do 3 things as a head coach, if you recruit good players, you get them to play hard, and you hire good coordinators, you can win a lot of ball games. And I think Orgeron has a chance to have success at LSU.
Be interesting to see how much he lets Matt Canada, new offensive coordinator, coach that offense and not get involved in that. All right, today in day 2, we saw 4 teams go. Early on, it was Georgia and Vanderbilt. Kirby Smart made some news, especially with those of us that cover Tennessee early in the day with some of his comments. What did you make of Kirby Smart?
Well, Kirby, not so smart, said, which I thought was interesting, there's a coach in this league that said that Georgia has the most talent, but that team had 6 players taken in the first 4 rounds, whereas Georgia only had 1. Mm-hmm. So then there was a response right after that from somebody that said, well, Georgia's recruiting in the last 6 years has been in the top 12 in the nation, and they only scored 16 points against Vanderbilt. So what are you talking about? So anyway, that was pretty interesting banner with Kirby Smart.
Yeah, and some people were saying, well, Florida also only had 6 players drafted in the first 4 rounds. He may not be even talking about Tennessee. He was certainly talking about Tennessee because, as you know, in the spring meetings, Butch Jones very complimentary of Georgia, and Kirby Smart wanted none of it. He said, well, he hasn't even been to his practices. How does he know how good we are? Also, besides Georgia, Vanderbilt went early on, and then this afternoon we have Mississippi State and Florida. Anything else caught your attention here in day 2?
Derek Mason at Vanderbilt's very optimistic. He talks about having a senior team. He's got 18 starters back. He's got 38 players that are juniors or seniors, and he thinks that's how you can win. He felt like the win against Tennessee was a great momentum builder. He told people to jump on that bandwagon because Vanderbilt is going in the right direction. So he was very optimistic about his team. Dan Mullen with Mississippi State talked about how when you evaluate a quarterback, you look for things that you can't teach. You look for leadership. You look for a guy that has a high IQ. And he said, and of course you look for part of the skill set, but you try to find things, you look for toughness. Those are 3 of the things he looks for. And he said that Nick Fitzgerald had those, and that was one reason, though he wasn't rated very highly, that Mississippi State liked Fitzgerald. Now, they didn't like him enough to bring him to SEC Football Media Days. I don't understand that.
Right.
But one of many players I thought could have been here. But that came from Dan Mullen, and that's one reason they think Fitzgerald's been so successful, because Mullen said you can coach the other things. You can help somebody with footwork. You can help them with their passing accuracy and so forth. But those other 3 things are hard to teach.
And speaking of quarterbacks, going back to day 1 real quick with Tennessee, Butch Jones saying that, hey, if they earn the right, we'll play 2 quarterbacks. What do you think of that possibility?
Well, it'll be interesting. My feeling is that if Darmody plays well, then you're likely going to see Darmody stay in the game. If he struggles a little bit, I think you could then see Garantano. My feeling is that if you end up playing 2 quarterbacks early, I don't know that that's a good sign because I think it means that Darmody's not playing at the level you want. If he is playing well, I would not want to take him out of the Georgia Tech game and stop your momentum. Now, maybe Butch Jones sees that differently. Maybe he thinks that they would be so close together that Garantano would deserve some playing time, even if Darmody's playing well. But sometimes you're asking for trouble when you do it. I've seen some systems that work. Sort of, like with Florida with Chris Leak and Tim Tebow. Tebow was a situational quarterback that came in on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, whatever, and it worked. But most of the time it doesn't. So I'll be curious to see if Tennessee actually goes in that direction.
All right, 7 teams down, 2 days down, midway through SEC Football Media Days in Hoover. Sports Radio WNML is here all week long. Josh and Will with Sports 180, Jimmy and John with Sports Talk, Blake Hatfield and myself, Vince Ferrara, here reporting. Jay Lyford, our on-site engineer. We've already got 96 interviews on our central page, which is unbelievable. So just scroll through, listen. You can get all the coverage, any interview or quote you're looking for. We've got it for you on the central page at sportsradiownml.com, and also follow us on social media as well at Sports Radio WNML on Instagram and Facebook.
We'd have had 97 if Gary Danielson had shown up.
Maybe tomorrow or the next day. We'll see. All right, check out our coverage on the radio as well. For our entire crew, I'm Vince Ferrara. Thanks for watching. We'll see you here in Hoover.